This is the wail of a woman who has reached the end of the rope. Apart from demolishing her only home and throwing out her belongings, she was raped in the process.
Niliona tu watu kawalingia kwa nyumba, kisha mtu mmoja akanishika, alikuwa amevalia nguo za polisi, akanishika, kisha akanilepu.
Hers is a story that is duplicated over and over again in different parts of the country during eviction exercises. This is a case scenario in Embakasi, where administration police caught residents by surprise and demolished their homes. And so, in an attempt to draw attention to their plight, residents take to the streets chanting slogans, hoping for a solution to their problems, and in the process, more damage is done. Land and housing are the two most explosively sensitive and intertwined human needs. Their realization, more often than not, has manifested in ugly confrontations, culminating in forced evictions. Eviction in the Kenyan context has for a long time been characterized by brutal removal of individuals, families or communities from their homes. This is often done with utter disregard to legal procedure and international covenants on human rights that guarantee sanctity of life and private property.
Tumesaliwa kule, hata baba zetu huko kule, makaburi ziko ya bakuka zetu, na pia sisi na watoto tumesaliwa kule. So sisi hatujui bado tunaenda, tunashangaa kuhamiwa ni kama tumeshambuliwa vibaya sana. Hata watoto wameamushwa akilala kwa kitanda. Na hakuna mtu aliona ni kitu gani nilikuwa naendelea kule.
Beka hapa miaka mingi sana. Hakuna pale tutaweza enda. Vile tutaweza hata kufanya ni kujenga hapa tena. Wakuja watutoe. Hata notisi hawaja tufahamisha kwamba muondoke ili tuwe tumekataa. Wametuambia tu, tumeona tu askari asubuhi wakatuambia twende.
As we all know, the administration also use force. It's like this is the notice, you have to move, without any preparations or discussions on where one is going to move to.
Forced evictions have been widespread in Kenyan cities and are on the surface caused by conflicts in land. This, in many instances, occasioned by urban redevelopment, default in payment of land and house rents. But more fundamentally, evictions come as a result of factors embedded in Kenya's geopolitical landscape and historical injustices.
Rais anakuja anaambia wananchi kaeni hivyo, hiyo ardhi ni kwenu. Sasa kwa sababu rais amesema wananchi wanarara tu, wanajua serikali imewapatia. Alafu pia unakuta kansela anapeana shamba, chief anapeana, vijana wa mitaani, mayouths wanapeana, wazee wa vijiji wanapeana, makanzoras na MPs wanapeana. Sasa ikawa kuna confusion on land allocation.
In particular, land conflicts and evictions are as a result of grossly inequitable land ownership structures that make it even more difficult for the poor to access land and decent shelter.
Alisema atahakikisha kwamba ataenda atalipa milioni 3 akuje avunje 6 street mzima. Na hiyo ndio ile kitendo alifanya, akaenda akapatiana pesa City Hall, akapatiana pesa kwa DC, usiku tingatinga ambaye ilikuwa na battalion ya APs walikuja saa 5 hapa na kufanya uharibifu ya mali.
At a deeper level, evictions in the country have been carried out because of the following: illegal occupation of private or public property, the need to pave way for development projects, market-based displacements where property market forces increase vulnerability of low-income earners and other marginalized groups to eviction, displacement occasioned by natural disasters, and environmental degradation that tends to create conditions for displacements. As an event, evictions cause significant socio-economic hardship to affected individuals, families, and communities. After evictions, affected people are left with very few options but to spend subsequent nights out in the cold.
Kuna wakati moja tulichomekwa tukaishi nje wiki moja bila kitu.
Ironically, most evictions have been conducted by the state or its agents and private citizens with blessings from state organs.
The person who is doing the eviction considers that they are the rightful owner of wherever a community or individuals have settled. Therefore, it's like they have all the rights to move that person. They don't consider whether this person is going somewhere else or this person has somewhere else to go. So it's like you have to move, and you have to move now.
Absence of a regulatory framework has seen employment of brutal and grossly inhumane eviction methods. There have been cases where people have been evicted deep into the night and during bad weather.
Hao watu wamekuja usiku kama tunalala saa 9, and at the same time there was no notice that we knew.
In 2009 alone, approximately 20,000 people were inhumanely evicted in Nairobi's informal settlements within a period of 9 months. The number of evictees has grown substantially in the past 1 year. Eviction methods have been significantly traumatizing and usually leave a bitter taste in the victims' mouths. Tools of trade range from bulldozers to attacks by hired goons, administration police, council askaris, and forest guards, depending on who sanctions the evictions. After the smoke settles, evictees are left to deal with the aftermath, which includes massive destruction to property, with the poor being most affected, losses in sources of livelihoods, especially for the small-scale businesses in the affected areas. People have been rendered homeless, school dropout rate increases, displaced persons are further exposed to inadequate and squalid living conditions without basic amenities, psychological and physical trauma for victims, especially for those who attempt to resist evictions. In light of this, it is therefore a foregone conclusion that evictions indeed pose a problem, particularly for the poor, and would require a multi-pronged approach in trying to remedy the situation.
If we have to evict, if we have to move groups of people, where are we taking them? What services? What should we offer to them so that they live in a humane way? Our take is to see a given community gets all the basic services and security of tenure. So if we were to be involved in the relocation or discussions of eviction and relocation or settlement, then it's our duty to see that all the human rights are considered, and whoever is moving them has either to compensate, not just monetary compensation, but with services and facilities that require this person to adjust to the given, to wherever this person is going to.
There have been efforts undertaken by the government in the past in an attempt to address the problems posed by evictions. The National Housing Policy recognizes the inalienable right to housing in a healthy, clean environment and at an affordable cost to all socio-economic groups in the country. The National Land Policy also assures security of tenure to land and is therefore critical in preventing forced evictions. The recently adopted Constitution, however, puts into consideration all aspects of eviction in the Bill of Rights. Article 43 specifically provides that every person has the right to accessible and adequate housing and to reasonable standards of sanitation. Even though it does not directly address eviction, the right to adequate housing grants freedoms which include protection against forced eviction.
Also to condemn the residents ambao wana occupy the land ama the water catchment areas. Tuweze kujua hiyo ni makosa imefanyika kwa sababu ya ile management and enforcement ile ambayo inafaa kwa from the government. Sasa kama ni mtu amejenga kando ya mtu, aambiwe hapa ulijenga kimakosa, ndio ulitoa pesa, kwa sababu hakuna mahali watu wamejenga bila pesa. Sasa tunakutoa hapa kwa sababu hapa ni dangerous, kwa sababu hapo na affect environment, so tunakupeleka huko.
In October 2010, the Ministry of Lands, after painstaking consultation with civil societies and community groupings, came up with the Evictions and Resettlement Guidelines, which stipulate the framework under which evictions should be carried out. The guidelines have since helped to bridge the existing policy vacuum. According to guidelines, the government is mandated to ensure protection and due process is followed. Some of the provisions include the following: presence of local government officials during evictions or demolitions, proper identification of those taking part in the eviction, presentation of formal authorization for the action, compliance with international human rights principles. Affected persons shall be given priority to demolish and salvage their property. Eviction must never take place during bad weather, at night, prior to school examinations and elections. It should be carried out in a manner respecting dignity, rights to life and security of those affected. During the process, women and children should never be subject to gender-based violence or any other forms of discrimination. The process must ensure that property is well protected.
Tunataka hiyo eviction guideline iwe presented in parliament na ipitishwe because it reduce poverty in our country na pia itasaidia watu kuunderstand kama ni eviction inafanywa watu wawe wamepata ile nafasi ya kuongeleshwa na kuambiwa what kind of development, who is the owner of the land na watu wanastahili kufanya nini. Now that eviction now imepeana some advantages nyingi sana because inasema hawezi hamishwa usiku saira merara, iwezi fanya wakati wa baridi, wakati ya mvua mingi, hawezi kufanya wakitumia wakora.
In almost all the documented cases of forced evictions, communities are never consulted in any meaningful manner. The guidelines clearly make a structured participatory process before and during the time of eviction.
Imeweza ku create an atmosphere ambao ni ile ambayo itafanya kama ni ardhi umekaa kuna notice of intent tunasema ambayo inafaa kuwa 3 months. Unaambiwa hii ardhi unakalia sio yako na mwenyewe anaitaka. So the 3 months ni wewe sasa uanze kufikiria ni nini utafanya, ni negotiation ama ni mahali pengine unatafuta. Then from there mnakuja mnakaa chini. Mwenyewe ana produce documents, anasema ni kwake na watu wakisha kubaliana wanaitisha some compensation. Kama compensation inafaa watu wanakuwa compensated. Kama ni alternative land wanaangalia wote na wanaenda angalia kama hii ardhi iko mahali mzuri na sio ardhi ambayo ni ya mtu, wanaenda wanaongea na kubali watu wanaweka for 3 months 2 months, after that kuna eviction then. So inakuwa mahali watu wanapeleka lazima iwe ni permanent, sio tena temporary. So hiyo guideline sasa ndio tunataka iwe sasa inasaidia because hiyo guideline pia inasema ni eviction and resettlement.
A fair hearing before a competent independent court shall be provided for any person threatened with eviction. Legal counsel and an effective remedy should be provided as well. In cases where eviction is justified, the following procedures must be carried out. 21 days notice be given to the affected individuals, stating the modalities, the day and time of eviction. A public hearing with affected persons and other stakeholders should be held to provide an opportunity to discuss alternative proposals for resettlement. Parties should have an opportunity to seek legal redress where there is a dispute. The eviction notice should contain a detailed justification for the decision. The information is critical as it will enable the affected to understand the underlying factors propelling the eviction.
We are involved in relocation of the railway dwellers, or the people living along the railway line from Kibera to Mukuru. What we have prepared a relocation action document that the Ministry of Transport through the Kenya Railways and the support of World Bank, all the human rights issues have been considered in that relocation document, just to make sure that the people who have been living around the railway line are not just going to be forcibly evicted from where they've been living and trading. So in this case, the document recommends that the peripheral wall that the Kenya Railway intend to construct forms a back for the houses or the stalls that the dwellers who have been living along the line will be able to use as houses and stalls.
After proper evictions have been carried out, what next? Measures must then be taken to ensure that members of the same family are not separated, people and their property are well protected, medical and psychological care plus counseling services if need be are provided, essential food, potable water and sanitation are all available. Basic shelter and housing, not forgetting education for the children, should be provided as well. Land is a measure of wealth and a symbol of sovereignty. In numerous instances, land is a primary source of livelihood. It follows that matters of land adjudication must therefore address these and other deeply rooted issues that would in essence result in conflict and a disenfranchised population. The eviction guidelines, the national land policy and the policy on housing provide a framework that guarantees fundamental rights in relation to land. It is therefore imperative that eviction and resettlement exercises must be conducted in a manner that safeguards and respects these rights as enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution.